Oh, apologies. Hello. Great to see you. I'm just enjoying these amazing cookies. They really taste really well. Apologies, just got them from a supermarket nearby, and I really feel very good, because when I've been browsing through the store, I found that they actually certified. So what is certified should be good, I guess, right? Well, if that is really the case, if we can trust in all these labels, and if we know what is actually indicated on the package, and particularly if we can trust in the law regulating these kind of issues, this will be part of this mini clip. Read what you eat. Read what you eat, because the law actually requires us as consumers to be actively engaged with the information that we need in order to decide whether we want to buy the food, whether we want to consume food, or whether we want to exercise our power as consumers. Now, hence it is first and foremost our sovereign right of consumers to eat and purchase what we want and what is available. However, on the one hand, while this is on our right, on the other hand, we know also that the way we consume and produce food has been subject to criticism by many. The UN has therefore developed the so-called Sustainable Development Goals to guide us in our way how we shall consume and produce sustainably, in a way that also our kids, when they become parents, are able to have a world worth living in and able to have enough nutritious food on the whole planet. Now, if we talk about consumption, and this is particularly what I talk about today, particularly food consumption, there's two particular sustainability development goals that come to mind. The first one is about good health and well-being. That is the Sustainable Development Goal number 3. The second one which comes to mind is the goal number 12 on responsible consumption and production, both of which shall guide us in the way we choose our food and the way we eat. On the one hand, we should eat in a way that we live well, we live healthy, and we do not die of non-communicable diseases. On the other hand, we should consume and produce in a way that our kids can still have the same resources available like we have, or even, if you don't consider the European Union, also other resources. Now, when we shop in a supermarket, making choices accordingly is very difficult in a real-life choice setting, as this video will explain.
Buying a box of cereal is simple, right? Well, not anymore. What kind of Cheerios do you want? Honey Nut, chocolate, multigrain, peanut butter? There are actually 14 variations to choose from. A trip to the supermarket can get overwhelming when many popular products come in more than a dozen varieties, like the 15 types of Thomas English muffins. Even vanilla is no longer just plain vanilla. Breyer's ice cream and frozen dessert comes in half the fat, lactose-free, extra creamy, no sugar added, and more.
We found 27 versions of Crest toothpaste at one store. The company makes more than 50. Now, according to a new Consumer Reports survey, consumers tell us they like choice, but 28% were overwhelmed dealing with that much information.
We could see that in such an example, which is nothing artificial, but basically everyday life. If you go for shopping in a supermarket, it is really hard to make choices according to your wishes. Even if you want to fulfill the sustainability goals, if you want to buy responsibly, and if you want to buy healthy, it's extraordinarily hard in a supermarket setting to act accordingly, due to such a variety of choices and such a variety of possibilities. Now, one facet, and this is where the law comes in, one major facet of the law is indeed to reduce such complexity. One of the major tasks is indeed to provide certain heuristics or other shortcuts, mental shortcuts, to prohibit or to steer, to nudge people into making better decisions. And the major way in which the European food law does this is, at principle level, provided for in Article 1 of the General Food Law, which reads, "Food law shall aim at the protection of the interest of consumers and shall provide a basis for consumers to make informed choices in relation to the foods they consume." Interestingly, the food law shall only aim at providing a basis for consumers. The choice is made by the consumer, him or herself. The information requirements of the European Union are hence only aiming at providing a basis. If you want to shop and consume non-sustainably, the law doesn't prohibit you from doing this. The problem is that most of consumers have different prerequisites and different preferences. Hence, the law cannot facilitate all of them. And therefore, the Food Information Regulation, and particularly Article 3 of the Food Information Regulation, has singled out some aspects in which consumers, via information, shall be helped to food information and throughout all labeling requirements. And this is to help consumers to make choices regarding their health, economic, environmental, social, and ethical considerations. Now, this is the principles level. What does it mean in practice? In practice, as usual, life is always a bit more complicated. Every one of you knows probably these kind of products. This is a light product. But if the label tells you that the product is light, is it really healthy? And yes, in what way? Likewise, products such as this one would promise some certain nutritional qualities. It's good for your health. Is it really? Or is it not just a marketing trick? The label on the products usually provide the most elaborate requirements, but the makeup and the way in which these labels are designed are usually hard to comprehend for consumers. Hence, it is of utmost importance to make these labels also readable to consumers. But honestly, do you really stop in a supermarket and read the label of each and every product? I think the fewest of us have the time to do this, particularly if you're pressed for time and are very hungry. On the food, there's other information. There could be information about the geographical indications. Where does the food come from? Where does it originate? And there's also various other ones that have something to do with the origin of the product. Furthermore, there might be information about the nutritional value of the food in either in this form or in this kind of form, or both of which. In addition, you might be induced by marketing strategies, by clips on the internet or marketing on the TV. You may want to see these private labels in terms of religious consumers. Is it the product halal or not? Is the product organic? And if you don't like that kind of organic product label, you can also use the European organic product, which has a lot of different requirements. But if you don't like the European labeling of products, which has certain requirements, maybe because you can't fulfill the strict requirements of the organic label, industry can also develop their own labeling on attaches to the product, and so forth and so forth. We live at a time where we have introduced the information on products to reduce complexity in competitive choice setting. But we have replaced them increasingly by providing so much information that we can't comprehend the information. So again, the information is not able to aid us in our decision. However, the law still tries, at least under certain circumstances, to aid some consumer choices and to reduce some level of complexity. And this is particularly in the case of the list of ingredients or the general labeling of the product, for so-called health and nutrition claims, for organic claims, for additional front of package information, some rules and also private certification schemes, and there's many more other special regimes which we can't deal with in a short clip such as this one. Let's first start with the label. The label is heavily regulated at the European Union level, and therefore the label is everywhere the same in the European Union. The requirements are the same. The language, of course, because we live in such an area in the European Union with rich diversity of languages, may differ. To make this visible, this label, by the way, is in Italian. Now, the requirements are, as I said, everywhere the same. Usually you start with a trade name, for example, which you find above here. Nuova Campi is the trade name of the product. It can be a fancy name. There can be something that sells well, but this is not the name which is legally relevant. Legally relevant is the legal name, which needs to be also in the product, which is this one. And you see, from the legal name, you can actually get what is inside of the product. Nuova Campi can be anything, but salsa di pomodoro tells you this is tomato sauce, basically. And tomato sauce with biological ingredients. Now, furthermore, you do have also the list of ingredients, which is also heavily regulated in the European Union. So this is all information that you find the same in the European Union. There's no sense of deviation. You have a sign of the label of the organic label, which is also protected in the European Union. And also, if you look in the label name, you use the term organic or biological. This is also heavily regulated, which in terms of certification, which you need to comply with. Furthermore, each of the product has to bear the address which you can turn to if you face a problem with the product, and so forth and so forth. The label is even so heavily regulated that also the minimum requirements of the size of the fonts are regulated in the European Union regulations. So if you want to have real information about the content of the food, if you want to have real and true information, read the list of ingredients, read the label of the product. This is the most truthful information that you can get across the European Union. However, we also know that most of consumers don't read the label. And those who do read the label are those who are intrinsically interested anyway, and not those which we need to also take into account to maybe reflect on their dietary behavior. Another type of regulation which is heavily stipulated in the European Union are health and nutrition claims, such as light. Now, light is a nutrition claim and can only be used in the European Union as a type of example if the reduction in content is at least 30% compared to the similar product, and the indication of the characteristics which makes the food light or light need to be indicated. So those kind of claims which provide a nutritional value to the product, or which are sold as they provide particularly health benefits, those are heavily regulated in the European Union, and these you can more or less trust in if you find these kind of claims. Another type of regulation is the additional so-called front of package information. Now, this is voluntary, and it is possible for industry and business, food business operators, to repeat the ingredients in the principal field of vision of the product or the respective nutritional value. So this is possible in the European Union. The contents, however, need to be similar to those in the list of ingredients. So hence, these kind of information you can also trust in. What you should be very, very careful about is private labeling. Because private labeling is hardly ever regulated in the European Union, close to no regulation. In other words, industry and food business operators and all kind of other trading organizations can put any kind of label on the product, what they wish, without even providing certain certification requirements. There are some legal prerequisites, such as that they need not to be misleading to the consumers. Some specific products have some regulations on private labeling, and the general EU competition law rules apply. But so far, no private labeling has been subject to a problem over here, except for some sustainability labelings. Now, as there's basically no legal control in the European Union for private labeling, on the one hand, and on the other hand, consumers buy products more if they contain some kind of labeling. They, of course, extremely attractive for food business operators to use. And hence, if you remember the beginning of this lecture, the fact that a product is certified by a private company doesn't say anything about the content of the food. You need to trust in the respective certification company in order to also trust the label. But the label itself, if it's privately organized, doesn't have any say in the content of the food. To sum up, food law relies on consumers' responsibility. You are the ones who have to gain the information you need to make an informed choice. However, in a lot of ways, food law makes it hard for consumers who do not invest the mental capacity and or time to make a good decision. Because if you want to make a good decision, you basically need to read the label. And you also need to know how the label can be understood. And otherwise, it's really hard to trust in easy information, such as private certification or private labeling. In sum, the current legal requirements make it too hard for consumers to know how to realize the Sustainable Development Goals. The only way how to do this, if you wish to do that so and join us in doing this, is to read the list of ingredients and the label of the product, and then look it up on the internet, what kind of other information you can find about these kind of products. Thank you very much for your kind attention.